Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the AAA Hole Podcast. I am Death Witch, or AAA Hole, hosting the show. With me, as always, is my co-host, Ozzy the Aussie. Say hey to everybody, Ozzy.
G'day, guys.
All right. So thank you for taking me with you on your morning jog, your commute to work, and we're just going to jump right into it today. So I've been seeing a lot of talk, a lot of buzz around the internet for the last week, and I've just been dying to break into this topic of Epic Store. The Epic storefront on their launcher being an actual competitor for Steam, and why everybody's mad at them for making exclusives. They've just been snagging up one game after another and making them exclusives to their storefront. Which I'm going to do something that I haven't seen any of the other arguments do here. We're going to do kind of a pro and a con. I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I am actually going to be defending Epic on this one. And don't turn the podcast off. Hear me out. It's going to be a good one. There's pros and cons to each, and I think some people need to address the pros of this, because everybody argues that, oh, well, Steam doesn't do exclusives. Steam doesn't do exclusives. I would argue that Steam's storefront has been an exclusive storefront. Everything on there has been pretty much exclusive to Steam forever, and that's bad for market.
Exclusive to PC for quite some time.
Yes, I mean, we're specifically talking about the PC market here for the duration of this podcast. I mean, exclusives are a welcome thing and an expected thing in the console market, and they've made consoles better for years. Those exclusives have. If it weren't for exclusives, Nintendo would have went the way of the dodo a long time ago. Because we're at a point now where people only buy Nintendo consoles to get Nintendo games. All right? And then when it came down to your... All right, so a couple things are what come down to your purchasing power when it comes to consoles, and I think those same rules apply on PC. When you purchase on consoles, and you're trying to decide for that next gen, do you go with Xbox, or do you buy a PS4? We're setting Nintendo aside because they're a different beast of their own, but the two main competitors are, Xbox and PlayStation. So which one do you buy? Well, it comes down to a few things. First and foremost, exclusives, the games. You are not going to buy an Xbox if you're an Uncharted fan. I mean, that's just doesn't matter what else Xbox has to offer. You want Uncharted, you want The Last of Us, you want those exclusive games, you got to buy a PlayStation. On the flip side, if you're a Halo fan, you're a Gears of War fan, you got to buy an Xbox. You got to. So those are the first things that are going to determine your purchasing power and your purchasing decision, which is why Nintendo stayed afloat. You buy Nintendo for Nintendo games. All the little gimmicks they do are fun and they're great, but you buy them because you want to play Zelda. You want to play Mario Odyssey. You want to play Mario Kart. You want the Nintendo experience. Now, the second thing that comes into play, and all of these ring true on these two launchers on PC. The second thing that comes into play is features. For a long time, Xbox got many sales over PlayStation, especially during the 360 PS3 era, because even though PlayStation had some good exclusive games, had a little Big Planet, it had some good things going for it, it was lackluster when it came to its online, which it tried to circumvent and tried to attract more people to use PlayStation's online by making it free on PS3. So that was its big selling point, but it didn't have the features. It didn't have party chat. Its friends list features were subpar compared to Xbox. So features matter. Now, I'm for a graphic up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. Now, when it comes to Steam versus Epic, Steam has the features locked down. All right, Steam does everything. And as well it should. It's monopolized the computer industry for so long when it comes to gaming that the only way for it to keep its throne was to be your all-in-one platform. It became such a common place for people, like a must-have for anyone PC gaming, that it needed to offer everything because people had nowhere else to go for this stuff for a long time. So Steam's got the friends list features down. It's got built-in voice chat. You can even watch live streams on it now. It's got built-in VR. It's the VR storefront for things like your HTC Vive. It's your VR storefront. It's It's achievements, it's profiles, it's forums, it's feedback. It's got a refund policy. It's got the features down. And with years of experience, you expect that. Now, the Epic storefront, I can see why people are mad about it. You have to use that storefront if you want to buy one of those exclusive games, be it Metro or Off-World. You want to buy those games, you gotta download the Epic storefront, which has subpar friends list features, 0 forums, 0 user reviews, 0 VR, 0 other features. Now, my argument for this is Steam didn't have any of that stuff at first either. Epic is retreading what Steam's already done. Steam noticed back in the day on PC that it had, millions of users downloading its launcher just to play its games. You wanted to play Half-Life? You had to download Steam. You wanted to play Left 4 Dead? Had to download Steam. You wanted to play Dota? Had to download Steam. Wanted to play Team Fortress? Got to download Steam.
But a problem with that, Def, is that Epic is basically reinventing the wheel when the blueprint is already there. It shouldn't need to reinvent the friends list, the library, the cart, the shopping cart, the basic sales system. All of that had already been done and basically perfected by Steam. You just really needed to copy it. But instead, Epic seems to be trying to invent it again when it's already invented.
I disagree with the idea of them trying to invent it again. I think what's happened here is Epic didn't plan this. It just came up. They didn't expect Fortnite to take off the way it did. They didn't expect their Epic storefront to be an actual storefront for anything other than Epic Games. So it was half-assed. I'll agree with you there. It's half-assed and it's lacking all those features. And right now, that's its biggest flaw. That's what it needs to work on. The good news is, when it comes to PC and why I don't understand a lot of the argument for people just complaining constantly, is it's not like your purchase between a PlayStation and an Xbox. If you are already a PlayStation owner and you want to, jump on board the Halo hype train or the Gears of War hype train, and there's a buy-in. You got to buy another console. There's no buy-in here. The Epic Launcher is free to download. You can still use all of Steam's features while using Epic Launcher to launch your games. You can still use that friends list to talk to your friends. You can even add a non-Steam game to Steam to let your friends know you're playing a game on the Epic Launcher. So there's workarounds for it. And I get it. That's not an excuse. They need to definitely build those features into their own app. But I understand the complaint a little less on PC because PC gamers have always done that. We've always used other applications to fill the void. Even back when Steam didn't do things, people used TeamSpeak, Ventrilo. We still do that now. Steam has built-in voice chat. We use Discord every night, even when we're playing Steam games. So those features are nice, but they seem a little less mandatory on PC than they are on a console. On a console, you don't have those options. If you want to game with your friend on a console and you want to voice chat with him, you got to use what's built into that console, or you got to call him on a telephone, old school style, and just plug a headset into your telephone, which, as Nintendo learned, people don't like doing when they're playing on a console. They want everything built in. And on PC, it's all still built into your PC. Just open Discord. So those arguments I don't understand. I get them as complaints, but as arguments against it, and then everyone's like, I don't want to download another launcher. And I get that. I really do. I get that you don't want to download a new launcher to play a new game. But again, devil's advocate here. Once upon a time, no one wanted to have to download Steam to play Half-Life. Okay, because back in the day, you didn't download launchers to play games. You installed them off a disk, and you just had the game on your computer. Steam was the first one with Half-Life and its games that made you go through a new step to play a game. So people are always going to be resistant of that at first, but if it's done right, people adapt to it. I get that you don't want to download yet another launcher, especially in this day and age where we have to download fucking launchers for everything. Every MMO has its own launcher. Every fucking game company has their own launcher. The only difference with the Epic launcher and the Ubisoft one or the EA one or the Bethesda one is Epic's actually trying to turn it into the next Steam and sell things that they didn't make, sell things they don't own. And they're trying to do it, and I give them a round of applause for doing what they're trying to do. They're trying to help the developers, being as how they are still currently developers. Valve used to be a developer once upon a time, but they haven't made a game in a long time.
A good game, anyway. Didn't they do some sort of card game or?
Well, they've done
Dota.
Yeah,
Dota card game.
Yeah, they still do Dota stuff. Their main game development right now is VR. They have released a few VR games, but VR seems to be where all their actual development time is going. Which, props to them on that. The development on VR is great. Steam is by far the best VR platform on PC. But we're not talking about VR here. We're talking about regular games. And Epic's still developing regular games. Epic doesn't just develop regular games, they also work with developers all the time. You know, they created Unreal Engine, an engine used by many games to this day. You know, one of the most popular engines. So
Artifact was what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Which was their last game.
Yeah, so Steam isn't working with developers the way Epic is. Epic's still working with developers hand in hand to this day, providing them support while they develop their games using Epic's engine. So Epic is definitely very developer friendly, and it has the developer's best interest in mind. Everyone's complaint here seems to be that Epic doesn't seem to have the consumer's best interest in mind. I get that to a point. I get it. It does seem to be focused on developers first and then the users second. So it's trying to be most attractive to developers and hoping the exclusives will just be how you get the users. Now, they already had millions upon millions of users thanks to Fortnite. And you're using the exclusives as a way to attract more people and to solidify yourself. It's just competition. They have to do something to fight the, this is David versus Goliath here. They got to do something to fight the Goliath that is Steam. And think of the exclusive as the ammo that David puts in his slingshot. He's got the slingshot, he's got the tools, but he needs ammo to beat the beast. Even with all the tools and being an option for people is great, but if you really want to compete with Steam, I don't think there's any other way to do it, to be honest with you. People are creatures of habit, and until you do something to force them to break that habit, they're not going to. And they proved it can be done. They did it with Fortnite. Fortnite became the most popular game in the world, despite not being available on Steam. So they know it's possible. And now they're just trying to reenact that same steps that made Fortnite what it was. Fortnite was exclusive to the Epic's Games Launcher. It had the excuse of being made by Epic, sure, but it was still exclusive to the Epic's storefront. So having other games be exclusive to the Epic storefront, timed exclusives, this is no different than the stuff you've seen on consoles. It's just now it all happens on one machine. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked that something like this did not happen sooner. I'm surprised it has taken this long for somebody to try to fight Steam in this way.
The basic problem with it is exactly what you basically said at the start, is that they half-assed it. They didn't plan on doing this. If they had planned on doing this and had actually worked at it, got all the cogs in gears in rotation before actually launching, and had all these they had courted Metro Exodus before it even got announced. They had courted and got the Outer Worlds before it was announced at the game awards. If they had got courted and got the new XCOM-like game, Phoenix Point, before it had been even put onto Kickstarting and all of that. If they had done all of this work beforehand and actually got those exclusives before they were announced to be coming to Steam, I don't think people would be having as much of a problem. Because that's where this whole thing basically resides, in these games that had been announced to be coming to Steam suddenly got yanked and were coming to Epic instead. So, especially with the Phoenix Point game, that was actually kickstarted on one of those crowdfunding sites to be a Steam game. They had put it in the backers that you would receive a Steam code once the game launched. That all seems to now be up in the air on whether it's going to occur or not because of this exclusivity deal. Because Epic didn't actually plan ahead.
Well, I'm not gonna defend Kickstarter campaigns in that they should do what they promise, because you roll the dice on Kickstarter. Everyone should know that at this point, that stuff on Kickstarter isn't promised, it's planned. And plans change. And the whole purpose behind Kickstarter is to get funding. And if Epic is going to provide that funding, they should get the exclusive.
Oh no, it's not that Epic got the funding to them. The funding was already provided. The game is basically 90% done. It's being yanked at the 11th hour.
Well, I wouldn't use the term yanked. Epic swooped in with an offer that developer could have refused, and they took it. Because
it does come to the developer as well. I wholly agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm trying to shift blame from Epic to a point. I mean, Epic could. I mean, I honestly don't know what else Epic could do to combat Steam, other than to get exclusives. Because in all honesty, I think if Epic Storefront had literally all the same features as Steam, if it had the friends list, the voice chat, the forums, the user feedback, the rating system. If it had all of that, and it was basically Epic's version of Steam, people would still hesitate to leave Steam if the games weren't exclusive. Because again, gamers are creatures of habit, and I get that. You've spent years building your library on Steam. That if another storefront came out exactly like Steam, that had all the same features and whatnot made by another company, and then a game came out like Metro and it came out on Steam and that other place, you wouldn't give that other place a second thought, even though it has everything you want.
This is where it all comes back to where this basically all started, in the planning of this whole venture.
Oh, I agree.
That there was no planning. As I said, if they had planned it out, if they had got all of these exclusives before they had even been announced, no one would have an issue. It would be, we have to download another thing, but we're not losing out on what we were promised.
Well, I disagree with you to a point there that no one would have a problem. There are still people to this day.
There would still be.
There are still those hardcore Steam users to this day that refuse to buy a game on anything but Steam. They won't buy Anthem because it's not on Steam. They won't buy, a Tom Clancy game if it's not on Steam. If they have to download Uplay to play the Division 2, they don't fucking want to play the Division 2. And that's kind of ridiculous to a point. But this happens in retail all the time. You know, Walmart and Target are two perfect examples. They're both juggernauts. They both offer you the exact same thing. 99% of the experience you get in a Target's going to be the same in a Walmart. The difference is, why do you go to Walmart? Walmart's going to offer you things that Target doesn't, and vice versa. I see commercials for it all the time. Target's got some piece of furniture that's only at Target, or Target's got this that's only at Target, and Walmart's got this that's only at Walmart. You know, so they make deals with companies and they do the same thing. This is just how business is done. People don't like change. That's why they argue about it. Now, you're right in that Epic didn't plan this like at all. What you've essentially got here is, you know, the old movie trope where some kids have some friends over and their parents are out of town for the weekend and they weren't gonna throw a party, but then one of their friends is like, hey, we should throw a party. And then they decide to throw a party at the last minute in their empty house while their parents are gone, and it gets way out of hand, and then they got to try to clean it up before the parents get back. That's what's happening here. Epic didn't want to throw a party. They just wanted to make Fortnite. They just wanted to hang out with some friends. But then they had more people over than they planned on. And somebody was like, dude, this is officially a party now. You should just throw a party. Just let's do it. And that's what happened. They had millions of users with Fortnite. That thing went viral on them. Took off in ways they didn't plan for. And now they had all these users on their platform and the clock was ticking. So I think that's what it boiled down to. The clock was ticking. You had millions of users. I think if Apex Legends hadn't happened, they would have probably not be swooping up all of these. Not trying to throw Apex Legends under the bus, but in all honesty, I think if Apex Legends hadn't happened, Epic wouldn't be throwing all these offers for exclusives at these developers in order to get stuff on their platform, because they're losing users on their platform as people switch from Fortnite to Apex. So you're getting less people logging into your launcher every day.
To take in your party analogy, with what the people are mostly upset about, because I don't think people really care about the Epic Store in general. It's basically Cool Joey and Cheerleader Sally said that they were going to the party down the street at Steamy Joe's house. However, Epic has come in and gone, right, Susie Joe and Cheerleader Sally, we'll give you a bit of money to come to our party instead. You can still go to the other party later, but our only thing is, Sally and Joe had already promised their friends that they were going to that other party. All their friends are expecting them to be going to that other party. And now they're at 1 hour before the party starts, they've now changed their entire mind and coming to someone else's. People are going to be pissed at that.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, and that's a classic movie plot point. Happens all the time in movies where your exact scenario happened, where the unpopular kids are trying to get popular, so they literally pay the popular kid to come to their party at the last minute, and they're like, just tell everybody you're coming to our party. You don't have to stay long. We just want you here. We just want you here. And I feel like that's what's happening with Epic is, I think if Apex hadn't happened and the clock wasn't ticking, because right now they're feeling the pressure. They're looking at their numbers and they've lost a significant chunk of their player base from Fortnite to Apex, and that means you've got a significantly less amount of users, a significant chunk of your user base not logging in anymore. So they're not going to see your storefront. So even if you didn't make these games exclusive, they'd never see them. They're logging into Steam. Everyone logs into Steam. But they were trying to capitalize on the amount of eyes they had logging into their launcher every day. And now that number's getting smaller. And it has nothing to do with Steam versus Epic. This has to do with Fortnite versus Apex. So Apex is just taking those eyes away from their launcher. So they got to do something to get those eyes back. I'll agree they hit the panic button and they started playing dirty. I don't think exclusives was the right answer, but I'm struggling to find...
not exclusives that had already been announced. That's where I'm basically getting at. They should have played the long game.
That I blame the developers for. Because
I'm not even talking about the three that we've already mentioned, Outer Worlds, Phoenix Point, and Metro Exodus. I'm more looking at what's coming to E3 this year. Start talking to those developers before things get even announced. Get those exclusives now.
And they might, and they might, but I see why they did what they did with getting the exclusive. Because, again, the clock was ticking. They don't have time to wait for E3. They need to get those users back now. Because if you wait that long, even more people are going to switch over to Apex. You're going to have even more people. You're basically fighting an uphill battle the longer you wait. Because the more people that uninstall it and the less popular your launcher is, the harder it is to get the exclusive, because that's how you get your exclusive deal. You have to have something to offer these developers as an exclusive platform. And when your numbers are dropping by the day, your exclusivity deal looks less and less tantalizing. So you got to lock them in now. So I get that. I'm more mad at the devs for, taking the deal when they already promised something else. That falls 100% on the devs. I do not blame Epic for trying and offering them a deal. I blame the devs for taking that deal. No one put a gun to their head and made them take this deal. They could have said no. But Epic offered them a good deal, and they took it. They chose to ignore the announcement they already made to their audience. So when people are mad, it's not Epic they should be mad at. Don't be mad at the person who made the offer. You don't get mad at the guy your girlfriend cheated with because he said, if you want the D, you can have it. You get mad at your girlfriend for taking the D. All right, she cheated on you. All right,
in reality, you get mad at both. But
well, I disagree to a point. Guys are just always going to try, especially if your girlfriend's hot. That's just something if you get mad at every guy that tries, my God, you will spend 90% of your relationship angry. I've been cheated on before. And I went into it with the logic. I actually walked in on my girlfriend cheating on me. And the person she was cheating with stood up butt naked, expecting a fight. And you know what? I calmed down for a minute. And I said to myself, it might not be his fault. And I asked the dude. I asked him one question that would determine whether or not this was going to be a naked fist fight. I said, do you know who I am? And when he couldn't tell me my name and he didn't know who I was, then I knew. My girlfriend had lied to him and didn't tell him she had a boyfriend. So it's not his fault. He didn't know. Now, is it Epic's job to keep track of everything these developers have announced before they offer them a deal? No, they're just going to offer them a deal and say, hey, if you're not under contract, here's a deal for you. It's up to that developer to decide, look, we already promised our users that we were going to be on Steam. All of our players are expecting us to be there. We can't take this deal. It's up to the devs to say that. And if they don't, then you can't really be mad at Epic there. Because they're just doing what businesses do. They're making an offer. That's all they did. That's all they did was make an offer. Now, I'll agree that they've been playing below the belt. I think in the case of Metro, they knew that one was already a done deal with Steam, and they made the offer anyway. Okay, that was dirty because Metro was actually already on the Steam storefront when they made the offer. So there's no way they didn't know. Now with the other games that never made it to the Steam storefront, well then nothing's finalized. No harm, no foul there. That's just how business works. The other thing that they did dirty, which I'm going to completely jump on the hate Epic bandwagon here, is the reading Steam's users' data. So if you didn't hear about this, the Epic storefront, the Epic launcher, would go through your Steam data from your Steam folder, which it's not supposed to do, without your consent, and start reading your friends list and start reading, basically getting your usage data for Steam and sending it back to Epic so Epic would know how many people they were pulling away from Steam. So they could try to target your friends list and get other people away from Steam. So, yeah, they're playing dirty. And I get it. They're feeling the pressure from Apex to try and get their users back. And I don't agree with playing dirty, but I'm not even 100% on board with the exclusivity thing. But I'm struggling to come up with another way for them to do this. Like, I don't think exclusives is the answer. I don't think these dirty business tricks are the answer. But Steam is such a juggernaut that how do you beat it without playing dirty? Because Steam has been playing dirty for a very long time. Steam played dirty to become the thing it is now. Steam did this same shit. Steam played dirty, and Steam still plays dirty to this day. They don't moderate their storefront. They do everything they can to make a buck, and they absolutely gouge developers because they know that where else are you going to publish your game? You know, that they're playing dirty. They definitely aren't trying to help the developer. They maybe did once upon a time, but they aren't now. And with the way that they've been running their storefront lately, they're not trying to help the user either. So somebody's got to combat it. Somebody's got to put them in their place. That their business practices have gotten out of hand and they're just taking advantage of both. Now they're at a point where they're taking advantage of both the developer and the user. They're becoming a monopoly on computer. They're becoming a monopoly on the PC game, and they know it. Now, they're not a monopoly because they're not a legal version of monopoly because there is competition, but they're a virtual one. Do you know who games on PC who doesn't use Steam? Do you know a single gamer on PC who doesn't have Steam installed on their computer? I'll wait.
Not that I can think offhand, no.
I don't either. I don't think anybody does. And Steam knows it, and that's the point. So I get the frustration. I've been one of those frustrated Steam users. And I can see the developer side of things, or I can see how, yeah, you're losing 30% of my profits is a pretty hefty chunk. That's a shit deal. And yeah, I made more sales, but you took more money. And it's a shit deal. And yeah, these devs, to their credit, are purposefully losing sales on Steam to go to Epic. And I don't see them doing that for any reason other than to stick it to the man, so to speak, than to prove a point. Because if it were about money, they wouldn't take the deal. They'd just stay on Steam, because I feel like they would make more money there. Even with Epic taking less of their profits, I still feel like even though Steam takes more of their money, they'd still make more sales and make more money.
Maybe not, because it's really comes down to, on Steam, they would be a medium fish in a gigantic ocean. On Epic, they're, especially with the smaller studios like The Outer Worlds and Phoenix Point, they're going to be a sizably bigger fish in a lot smaller ocean. They're going to be more easily seen.
Yeah, they're in a much smaller pond, but that pond still has a significant amount of users. Steam's just had this problem with, people been jumping ship for a while. Epic's not the first. Nintendo's been, if we're going to use the term snatching up devs, Nintendo's been snatching up indie devs from Steam since it launched the Switch. With their whole Nindies thing. There's quite a few games coming out, a few indie developed games coming out on Switch that those developers have chosen to be exclusive to Switch. They're opting out of Steam. And these are smaller studios who don't have the money to make these kind of decisions where they they can afford to take a loss. And they're still choosing not to go to Steam and to lose out on that larger audience, because there have been interviews with indie devs who tell you how hard it is to get noticed. Speaking of your small fish, small pond, small fish, large pond thing, the indie devs that have been interviewed tell you just how damn near impossible it is to get noticed on Steam. That your game shows up in the new release list on Steam for all of 10 minutes before it's
really?
buried.
That long?
Yeah, even maybe 10 minutes. Yeah, it's ridiculous because Steam is doing zero moderation on their platform. They're letting literally anybody create a game and put it on their platform, even without quality checking anything. There's numerous games on Steam that don't even have executable files. It's impossible to launch or even play this quote-unquote game. But they allow it up anyway. They allow games with questionable content, straight up hentai, games about raping people, and until it gets bad media attention, they don't seem to care. So you've got all this negativity on their storefront where unless you're a big name company, your game's getting buried, you're not going to get seen. And if you are a big name company, like Ubisoft or EA or whatever, and you're putting your game on Steam, you then have to put up with the bad PR of having your game being displayed in a list right next to a game about rape. Right next to a game about being a school shooter. So then you have to put up with that PR nightmare of having your name associated with that. So I can see why you would opt out of it. Epic doesn't have the best deal in the world. And it definitely doesn't have the best launcher in the world. But people need to ask the question, with so little that Epic has to offer versus Steam, why would these companies keep choosing Epic? They offer a smaller user base. They offer less features for those users. They offer no refund policy for the consumer through their launcher. They offer all these things. They offer so much less than Steam offers, and yet these companies are still picking them over Steam, which means, yeah, Epic's got a better deal, and it's giving them more money, and it's giving them and they're working with them because developers working with developers. Remember, Epic is a developer. They even make a game engine. So they get better support. They get a better cut of the profits. But should that be enough to pull them away from Steam? No, I don't think it would by itself. I think everyone's ignoring the bigger picture with all these videos I see online with Epic versus Steam, and everybody just jumping on the hate Epic bandwagon. People are just ignoring the fact that Steam is making mistake after mistake after mistake, and these devs have had enough. EA has pulled out of Steam. Your big name developers have made their own launchers, have pulled out of Steam a long time ago. Ubisoft is releasing less and less of their games on Steam, if any. Same thing with EA. Andromeda didn't go to Steam. It could have. All the other Mass Effects are on Steam. So, people have been pulling out for a while, which means Steam is doing a lot wrong that people are just ignoring. And I don't understand it. I get it. I get the fanboy thing. I get the love for Steam. I get it. You've spent years on that platform. You've spent years building a friends list, building a profile, unlocking achievements, trading cards, investing in the community market, the forums, the user reviews. Maybe you're like me and you've wrote some guides on Steam for games that have become rather popular, and you've built a community there. It's not just the fact that your game library is there, but you've built a community there. I've got a guide I wrote for Duke Nukem 3D that's been up for years, and the discussion for that game and that guide is still going strong to this day. So I get it. It's easy to feel that sense of community on Steam. Very easy. And it's hard to let go of that. You feel a bond with it. But you got to set that aside. You got to pull back and take off the rose-tinted glasses and have a look at Steam for what it is, specifically from a business standpoint. And what it is just a fish that's gotten too big to live in the pond it's in. It's this massive whale that seems to have stopped caring. I don't know where their focus is, because they're not moderating their storefront. They're not moderating in any of the games. They're not doing any quality control. Where's all their money and time going other than making stuff for Dota and keeping that going so you can have an esports game? Other than their one esports game and their VR platform, where's their time going? Where's their money? Where's all this money they're making going? Where's that time going? Yeah, where's the moderation? Where's the features people have been asking for? And you know what? Epic's already making an impact on that. So this is just going to make both platforms better, in all honesty. Now that Epic is threatening their business, guess what Steam announces? Some of those features people have been asking for years. We're getting a revamped library on Steam, or revamped interface for your library. Both regular and big picture mode. Oh, all of a sudden, now that their business is threatened, they're listening to their community again. So even if you're on the hate Epic bandwagon, you still got to thank them because they lit a fire under Steam's ass and got them to get back in gear. Giving you what you want. As a consumer, you win either way. You still get your game. It's not like you're missing out on a game because you don't own the platform. This isn't like a console exclusive. Yes, it's inconvenient. You have to download the Epic Launcher to play a certain game, but you still win. Those games have been rumored to be cheaper on Epic. Future ones that are coming out. And it's not like you can't still run Steam while running your game. It's not even like you can't launch the game through Steam with the add non-Steam game to library. And your Steam experience is getting better because of it, because now you're getting those tweaks to that library that people have been asking for. You're getting tweaks to the storefront, tweaks to recommendations, tweaks to all that stuff that you wanted. So you're getting a win on both fronts. And I get it's hard to see right now, but to play devil's advocate, and in my personal opinion, I see this as a good thing. A poorly planned version of a good thing. Ozzy's right there. But a good thing nonetheless.
What Epic really needs to do now is actually put the time and effort in. As I said, start courting, start finding out what's coming to E3. Start courting those stuff. Start putting the money that they've been shipping around and their whole thing about we'll take less money from you to have it on our store, and start getting, before anything even gets announced, get those things exclusively on your storefront before they're even announced. Before anyone even knows what's coming, get them.
Oh, I agree. The next step here, so Epic did what it wanted to do. It did what was long considered impossible. It got the PC community to take it seriously as an alternative to Steam. And it succeeded where others have failed. I mean, EA tried that, and people rejected and pushed back on EA so hard that they quit trying to compete with Steam. Uplay tried it, pushed back with Uplay so hard it quit trying to compete with Steam. Activision Blizzard tried it. Same thing with their launcher. Every other launcher has failed. It's always done that try in the beginning, and then it receives the pushback like Epic's getting now. But it was written off by all the headlines and all the articles as just this shitty thing you have to do because AAA game companies are evil, blah, blah, blah. And no one took them seriously anymore. It just became this thing you have to put up with, like a fucking mole or a tumor that you don't want there, but you gotta have it if you want to play this one game. And they stayed in their corner. EA kept only its games on its launcher. They just became their own thing. Epic managed to get the community as a whole to take it seriously as an alternative storefront. It's got articles, it's making the headlines as an actual Steam competitor, as the potential to be an actual Steam competitor. So it's got everyone's attention, it's got them taking it seriously. It's got that first step. What comes next is now giving the people what they want so that they continue to take you seriously. You got the attention. You got the hype. You've got the opportunity, and you've got the potential. Now you just have to fulfill it. You just have to come through with that potential. You've got to beef up that friends list. You've got to bring those community features there that Steam has. If you're going to be an actual competitor, all right, it's time to roll the sleeves up and get to work, because now that you've got everyone's attention, it's time to show them what you're actually capable of. And if all you're capable of is throwing money at devs and asking for exclusives and not doing anything to better the launcher itself, that's only going to get you so far. It's going to get you, in the end, that's going to get you nothing but the same hate Origin has. That's going to get you nothing but the same hate that Uplay has. It's going to get you nothing more than being just another launcher where people go to play your games. That's how this story ends.
To beat Steam, you have to be not just on equal level, which Epic isn't even at this stage. It still has a long way to go to be equal level, but it has to then be better.
Yeah, so the next step is getting to showing the progress needed to prove to everybody that you can at least be as good as Steam. That you can be, at best, an alternative. You need to, at bare minimum, Epic needs to be considered a Steam alternative. Not the Steam killer. At bare minimum, if they're going to be successful here, they need to be the alternative. If you're really trying to compete with Steam and beat them and prove that, Steam is a thing of the past, we want you guys here, then you have to be better. And those are big shoes to fill. That's a tall order. I get that. And it's not going to happen overnight. They've made that first step, and they've hit below the belt a few times to do it. They got to stop playing dirty, though. That's only going to get you so far, too. All those business tactics, the playing dirty, the exclusives, the reading people's data, that kind of stuff only gets you bad PR in the end. And there's only so many times you can do that before the hate on your app matches the hate of Origin and Uplay, and it becomes too much for you to reverse. You've got kind of a mulligan right now. You can fix this, but you're going to have to do some work. You got to do two fronts here. You've got to, be better at Fortnite than you've been in the past to try to bring those people back from Apex that you lost there. And then, at the same time, you have to be making progress on the launcher itself to prove that you can pull people away from Steam. So you're fighting two juggernauts at one time. I do not envy their job. At all. They're fighting the juggernaut that is Steam and the new reigning champion that is Apex. So they're defending their title and trying to snag up a new one at the same time. That's a tough job. That's a tough road. And on the other hand, Steam is proving that it's not going to take it lying down either. Apex and Steam are both proving that they're not going to take it lying down. Apex throwing in a battle pass, adding its first season into the mix, and chasing after your throne title there. And Steam throwing in new features to try to get people to, sink their heels in and stay on their platform. Steam's doing the, hey guys, don't forget, we were here first and we still love you. Steam's doing that. Steam's doing the, yeah, we're still here and we still care. Look, here, let me prove it. We gave you this. Remember you guys wanted this? We gave you this. Here's a gift. Like a boyfriend who sees his girl talking to a new guy and getting chummy with him and then all of a sudden starts treating her like a princess because he feels threatened. That's what's happening here. Now, I'm not saying either one of these companies is Prince Charming. They both have their flaws. And it's going to be fun to watch. I'm one of those people who don't mind downloading another launcher. It's an inconvenience and there's little annoyances with it. But in the end, I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. I can still use Steam for the Steam features if I want. I mean, I was playing Anthem by launching it through Steam with Steam's overlay. So I don't really care. I'm one of those people that don't care. These launchers don't take up a lot of space on your hard drive. They really don't use a lot of bandwidth. Most of them have a feature where you can close the launcher when you launch a game, so it's not even running in the background anymore. To me, they're nothing more than a couple extra mouse clicks, and I don't mind that. So I'm one of those people who's never fully going to understand why so many people hate getting another launcher. I hate Origin and Uplay for different reasons. I don't hate the Blizzard launcher. That one's never given me a problem. It even closes the launcher when I launch Destiny. I hate Origin because Origin will crash my game sometimes. I hate Uplay because of the way that it's implemented some of its features hurt the game I'm playing. When they start affecting my gameplay, then I care. As long as they're not affecting my gameplay, they're just this thing I do before I launch the game. I don't care. I did that with MMO for years. It's the way it was. You played a new MMO, that meant you had to download a new launcher. Just for that one game. Literally. It was just a launcher for the game. Lots of MMOs did that. Guild Wars. You know, you go back to the old school MMOs before they had their own, part of bigger launcher things. Every game had its own launcher. Every MMO had its own launcher. So this is nothing new.
Star Wars.
Yeah. They all did. That's how they did their updates and their maintenance and, verifying, fighting piracy and stuff. That's what they were for. They all had their own launcher. They were exclusive to just that one launcher for that one game, even though I bought Star Wars on disc. I bought Star Wars The Old Republic on disc. And even after installing the game, I still had to install a launcher. Same thing with Guild Wars. I bought that on disc. Terra has its own launcher. I've never played Black Desert, but I'm pretty sure it has its own launcher. It's just, this is commonplace with MMOs. Just Epic's attracting a different crowd that's not used to this kind of thing. Because this thing is not new on PC. Downloading a new launcher isn't a new thing. The exclusivity thing is kind of new. But the downloading of a new launcher, that's not new. You're just going after a crowd that's not used to it. First-person shooters never really had launchers. And you're attracting the Fortnite crowd. You're going after the Apex crowd. You've got those users logging in every day. And they're not used to having to get in the middle of a launcher fight. That's what this is. This is the new generation of console wars. You guys are feeling nostalgic? Because we're reliving the 90s here. This is Sega versus Nintendo all over again. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get dirty. Somebody's got to come out on top. I, for one, am enjoying the show. I love watching these companies fight because the more they try to fight and prove that they want my business, the better it is for me. It's like having two girls fight over you. You like them both. It doesn't matter who wins. At the end of the day, you're a winner. No matter which one you end up with. And maybe they'll get along and you can have both. And that's an amazing thing. So that's the way I see it. These are just two girls fighting over my attention. And maybe if I can get them to get along, start doing deals with each other, I can have both girls. And even if I don't, I still get the girl I like. I still get the games I want, so in the end, I still win. Nintendo and Sega did the same thing back in the day. They fought dirty. Sega does what Nintendo don't. Oh, come on. They fought dirty. Nintendo is not without blood on its hands either. This is just how business is done. So freaking out over Epic and being resistant to new competition in the market doesn't help anybody. I understand your frustration. I really do. But you need to calm down for a second and look at the big picture. And in the grand scheme of things, downloading a new launcher for free and having to look at a new storefront for a game and maybe even getting that game for $10 less when it launches because of its exclusivity deal, it's a minor inconvenience for you at best, and you're sounding like a bunch of whiny pricks when you make a million YouTube videos about it and you complain about it on Reddit and you fight it tooth and nail like it's destroying your PC. You're being a bit melodramatic. It's not that big a deal. Just enjoy the ride. Watch this competition happen. Because the more business Epic takes away from Steam, the more Steam is going to listen to its users to try to keep them on board, to try to keep them from going to another launcher. The more Steam is going to listen to the developers to give them what they want to stay on their platform. And the more Steam fights back against Epic, the more Epic's going to say, well, what do you guys want in our store? And give you the stuff that you want. The friends list, the user reviews, the forums, all the features that Steam has are going to start showing up on Epic. So they're going to fight, and each one is going to get a little bit better each time. So if you're a Steam fan, your Steam's going to get better. If you're someone who's looking for a new launcher and is ready to get off of Steam and is glad there's competition, well, that launcher is going to get better. And if you're someone like me who doesn't mind having both, well, you win on both fronts because they're both going to get better. I've got my Steam friends and I've got my Epic friends. My computer runs both. It's not like I have to pick one. Same thing with consoles. I've got my Switch. I've got my PS4. I didn't pick one. I've got friends I game with on Switch, and I've got a group of friends I game with on PS4. Go ahead, Oz. Sorry.
It's a common phrase that competition pushes excellence. The more competition you have, the greater you're going to try to be to stand above the rest.
Yeah. Otherwise, you end up in a position that Steam is in right now. You get comfortable. You get complacent. You get comfortable. You start feeling like, doesn't matter what I do. They're not going in anywhere. This is the reason why divorces happen. Because somebody in the marriage got comfortable and quit trying. Got that attitude of, she ain't going nowhere. Where's she going to go? Or the girl got, where's he going to go? I'm the best he's ever going to get. They get arrogant. They get comfortable. And eventually it reaches a head. You either get a divorce or you patch things up. And that's what's happening with Steam. This is Steam's divorce period. We're either going to divorce Steam and find a new launcher, or they're going to patch things up and start treating us like they used to treat us. Remember how Steam used to have the reputation of being all about the consumer? Giving us what we wanted? Remember they used to do that? Remember they used to moderate their storefront? And they used to deliver us quality? That you knew only quality games made it to their storefront? Remember they used to do all this stuff?
How Gabe was seen to be the savior of gaming.
Yeah, how do you go from being the savior of PC gaming to the place where, hey, you can play Tom Clancy and get ads for hentai at the same time? This is where you wanted it, right? This is what you wanted. I know you're enjoying the shit out of Ark Survival Evolved, but have you checked out this game about rape? How do you go from being the savior to being that fucking swindler, that con man, that grimy dude who's always opening his jacket to sell you whatever shit he's managed to get his hands on? That's what Steam feels like. It's just whatever shit they've managed to get their hands on. So this is a win for everybody. And
now,
everybody
I'm not going to say Epic has everything worked out. Recently, they announced that they're going to basically moderate their store, and they're not going to have trash and porn games.
Yep.
So, where does that leave things like Honey Pop? Actual good games like that have the adult content.
That leaves them doing what they've always done. There's a version of Honey Pop. The very first version of Honey Pop that launched on Steam before Steam stopped giving a shit was a censored version.
Oh yeah, but it was still this explicit pornish game. So will that be acceptable on Epic? Will it not?
That's a good question. I think as long as it's not porn, it should be acceptable, because that's what Honey Pop was before Steam stopped giving a shit and they released their uncensored version on Steam. The original version was censored. It had boobies. The girls got topless, but that was it. That was as far as it went. All the sex scenes were cut. All the hardcore stuff was cut. The most you saw was a nipple. So But do you not put that in there? Because a lot of AAA games do that. Girl being topless isn't porn.
Yeah, at what level does this actually classify? That's not actually been explained yet.
Yeah, so that's going to have to be looked into. But if Epic takes off, then yeah, those games are just going to have to go back to doing that again. They're going to sell themselves as censored versions and then use the censored version to advertise the non-censored version that you have to buy from their website. They basically do what, mobile games did for a while, where they release a quote unquote light version where you got it for free or cheaper. And then, you play the light version. Even if you can play the whole game for free, the game is constantly reminding you that there's a better version and you'll get a better experience if you buy this one. And that's what they used to do. And that's just what they'll have to go back to doing. And they did well. There are sites you can go to that are storefronts just for these hentai games, just for this stuff. And those sites do well, even when fighting Steam. And why do they do well? Why are there storefronts for that specific kind of content? Because it's exclusive to those storefronts. Even if you buy their game, another version of their game on a bigger storefront, it's not going to be the same version you got from theirs. So they'll just go back to doing that, which is just another example of how something being exclusive isn't necessarily a bad thing. When the porn games are exclusive to, there's entire porn storefronts that's like Steam. I forgot what it's called, but there is one. And the reason it's survived and it's become a big deal is because it's the exclusive place to buy that adult content. So as long as exclusives aren't necessarily a bad thing, because when that was happening, those games did better having their own storefront, and Steam was a better place for its users because it wasn't getting flooded with this unwanted content. Not everybody wants porn games. I know parents definitely don't want their 12 or 13-year-old signing into Steam and getting constantly advertised porn games too. So yeah, I get it. So exclusives aren't necessarily bad. I think the way they've been handled here in the beginning kind of sucks. Epic definitely did jump the gun. They hastily went through and grabbed up as much as they could. In the defense of Epic, I don't know what else they could have done. The clock was ticking for them. They're losing users by the day to Apex. You got to do something to get those people to keep Epic Launcher installed on their computer if they're done with Fortnite. So I get it. I just wish that there was another way they could have gone about it. Maybe better communication. Maybe this was unavoidable. They just needed better communication. Definitely better communication from the devs who chose to jump ship and go over to Epic. That was definitely needed. So that there's mistake made on a lot of fronts here. I think once the dust settles, if Epic can get its shit together and offer a quality storefront that shows it cares about its users as much as it cares about the devs, Steam will have actual competition. Will it kill Steam? Hell no. It's not going to be a Steam killer. People have too much invested in Steam to ever fully give it up. I'm never going to uninstall Steam from my computer. I've got too many games on there. Even if I never buy another game from Steam again, I'm still going to be logged into it every day because my friends list is there, my library is there. And as long as I'm logged into it, they're going to advertise to me and they might get a sale from me. So that's always going to happen. Steam's not going to go away.
They're going to have that winter sale, that summer sale.
Yep.
That weekly sale that
they're always going to be like
we'll
a kid.
have that one game.
They're always going to be like a kid just tugging at my pant leg for my attention as long as I'm near them. So they're never going to get rid of. They're never going to get rid of me. I'm never going to get rid of them. But I do like having an alternative. And I think everybody else should too.
Oh, yeah.
So, see a couple users in chat. Most people have agreed with the stuff that we've said. Wolf Waffle, I see you there. We're about to start some Destiny. Thank you guys for being part of the podcast. I'm sorry I didn't interact with chat as much as I thought I was, but you guys pretty much agreed with the argument that this is good for everybody. Everybody seems to be on the same page there, which is good. That's encouraging. I wanted to see that from the crowd. I was hoping to get more of those people who are just super anti-Epic to jump in during this podcast so we could have an actual discussion and try to argue both sides. But I think most people at the end of the day are on the same page as me that competition's a good thing. I just wish it was handled differently.
It's going to be interesting to actually see what happens in the next couple of months, because we've got PAX East coming up, and we've got E3 2 or 3 months later. So
yeah, well, E3 is the one I'm most interested in, which we'll do a podcast on all this stuff later, and we're about to wrap this one up because we're going over an hour here. But E3 is the one I'm most interested in because PlayStation's pulled out of E3 and EA's pulled out of E3. And PlayStation just announced that they're going to start doing their own Nintendo Direct style videos straight to their console users. So we'll be getting our announcements directly from Sony from now on. So it's going to be interesting to see what E3 becomes now that these companies are kind of taking control of it and not relying on, following the route of Nintendo and just taking their announcements into their own hands and doing it on their terms. So
is there a place for the E3 press briefing in the modern era?
I think there is, and we'll get into that in next week's podcast because I do want to talk more about that. That's going to be a topic for next week's podcast as to whether or not we still need an E3 after the success of Nintendo Direct. So that's where I'm stopping this one. I'm going to save that for next week, so you guys come back for the next episode where we'll talk about the future of game conferences and game shows and game announcements and that kind of thing and what it means for them and whether or not they're even still needed. I got quite a few opinions on that, and I'd love for you guys to be part of that one because I want that one to be a conversation too. So be here next Monday at midnight. That's when we do these live. For those of you listening on your mobile device or taking me with you as part of the pre-recorded podcast, not here live, you can still get your thoughts and questions in on that. Just send an email to deathtwitch@gmail.com, and I'll read those and I'll make them part of the podcast. So you can still actually be part and hear your question, everything read on the next episode, even if you can't be here for the live recording. But that's next week's E3, the big conferences, and whether or not they're even still needed anymore, as well as a few other topics that I want to discuss. But that's it for this week. I can hear Destiny calling my name. We're already over an hour here. Thank you for being part of the podcast. Thank you for letting the AAA Hole and the soothing sound of my voice keep you company on your ride to work, on your morning jog, in between your classes at school, while you're sitting on the toilet, whatever. Thank you for making me part of your life. This has been Deathwitch, your AAA Hole, and we're wrapping it up for this week. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching if you're on YouTube or here live. Say bye to everybody else. Say bye, Failing. We're out.
See you guys.